Thank you for listening to this episode. Make sure you come back for the next episode covering the points of this conversation.
And follow the podcast on social media by finding @PrestigiouSPod.
Follow me, Mr. Kent, at Mr. Chris R. Kent.
Follow me, Chris Beane, at Chris Beane Official.
Join our Discord for exclusive content and personal interactions.
And if you'd like to be coached on how to live a more prestigious life, you can reach out to me, Chris Beane, on one of my social media platforms, or by emailing the podcast directly at prestigiousInitiative@gmail.com.
Lastly, sign up for our newsletter either through social media or on our website.
This is the Prestigious Initiative. Welcome. I'm Chris Beane, and here with me is Chris Kent. Hello, Mr. Kent.
Hello, sir.
Today, we have another question that we're going to answer. The question is, how do you cultivate a positive mindset, overcome negative thinking patterns, feelings of fear or self-doubt, and empower yourself to pursue your dreams and your goals in your daily life? This is a packed question. I think there's a lot to unfold in this. Mr. Kent, do you want to start us out here? What are your thoughts on this?
That was exactly what I was going to say. It's a big question. There's lots of different aspects to this. So let's kind of break it down and go a little piece by piece, and we can kind of work our way through some of this. So, one of the first things you said was how to cultivate a positive mindset. And so we're thinking about cultivating positivity in our own life, and then that therefore will extend out into our interactions and our daily kind of practices and things like that. And so, I think we've done several episodes on different ways we can kind of approach this. But to start off with, I would remind us or encourage us all to have like an attitude of gratitude, to be grateful for what's around you. So whether it be things or people or experiences or whatever it may be, to wake up every day and start to be grateful and start to think through things that you appreciate and what about your life it is that you can kind of take a moment and really let that positivity sink in. And so I think it's a great place to start our positive mindset as far as, being able to use this to empower ourselves throughout our daily life.
Right. So I think positive mindset is a wonderful place to start. I think probably what is a positive mindset? Like what, and I think probably most people are going to have a different definition to, this is going to be around about the same, but it might look different. Like the flavors of it might be a little bit different for each person, but to have a definition for your own self of what positive mindset actually means. So, okay, positive mindset means that you're away from the negative side. Okay, so you want to define negativity and positivity and lean more onto the positive things and then away from the negative things. So as you are going through your day, like we talked about last time, your life is full, not just your life, everyone's life in general is full of twists and turns and ups and downs, and you don't know which way is going to happen next. And with that, you continually have an option to choose the negative way to look at things or the positive way to look at things. And if you cultivate a mindset of being positive throughout whatever happens, then hopefully you are moving continually onto that more positive side and away from the negative side. And if you can do that, which is tough, if you can do that, if you can continue to look at the positive things that, do happen in your life or are happening in your life and away from the negative things, then what that will do is will further your path down the positive side. Because if you're looking for positive, you're going to find positive things. Now, again, inevitably bad things are going to happen. And that's, it's just part of life. It has to happen. It's like a necessity. If you can see the positive in those seemingly negative things, that will help to, again, to continue that positive mindset. Positive mindset. I keep saying that, right? Positive mindset means that you're looking for positive things. Despite whatever instance or negativity might be happening, you are trying to see the bright side of it. You want to turn those lemons into lemonade, have that kind of mentality or mindset. If it's raining out, we talked about this, I'm sure, a couple times. If it's raining out, am I disappointed it's raining? I don't know why. Like, what does that do? What does that change? It doesn't do anything except for put you into a negative mode for the rest of the day. It's raining today. Okay, fine. It's not raining today. Okay, fine. Yesterday was 72 degrees. Today it's 12 degrees. Okay, fine. We live in Illinois. It's just what it is. It doesn't. Me being upset about that doesn't change anything. So if I can leave that as a neutral, I'm not necessarily positive or negative on that. Leave that as a neutral. Then I can move on and I can try to find other positive things, because that didn't put me in a negative type of mindset. I didn't pre-frame those things as negative things. They're just neutral. They happen. I don't have any influence on them, so they just happen. And then I can move on and try to move from that neutral standpoint to the positive. Positive is where I'm looking for beneficial things. It's raining out. Okay, great. Spring is coming. Those are going to be watering the flowers, and I'm soon going to see the flowers. Super. It's raining out. Okay, great. At least it's not snow, because then I don't have to shovel it. Super. Whatever, just to try to frame whatever it is that you're happening. I think framing is probably the key thing there, is to frame whatever it is that's happening in a positive side. What can you take from the things that were given to you to turning into a positive? Like, you got lemons. Okay, great. Make lemonade. Sorry, I went deep on that, I think.
No, I think there's a couple things even in that to unpack. And as you said, it's about focusing on the positive. So realizing that the negative things are still going to happen. Negative things are a part of life and it's hard to avoid them, but don't dwell on them. Don't focus on them. So when it's raining, don't think about how, you're going to get soaked when you go outside, or it's gloomy outside, or maybe there's a leak in your basement or something and the water gets in. Don't focus on that. Don't ignore it, because it's all a reality. It's all true, but choose not to focus on that and focus on the more positive side. And like you said, when you're starting to look for those positive things, you're going to find those positive things, and you can kind of cultivate that and help to make that just your default. Your default is to find the positive and not ignore the negative, but don't focus on the negative, and kind of work through that. And like you said, when you're going about it, being that like making that your default, making that the positive is going to help you. You're going to find more and more. So when you start looking for the positive, you're going to keep finding the positive. So it's not like you are creating positivity. You're just noticing the positivity and everything that's going on. I think that's a huge shift. And you talked about framing, when you're going into a situation, or starting your day, having the intention of trying to be positive, or having the intention of choosing to look at the positive side of things, is going to vastly change the way it goes. Because if you go into the day thinking, oh, yeah, today sucks, well, then you're going to find out everything that sucks about today, and you're going to focus on that, and it's going to continue to bring you down. It works the exact opposite way. If you focus on the positive, find more positive. If you focus on the negative, you find more negative, which brings us to the next part of what you just said, which is trying to let go of the things you can't control. So it's raining. You can't control the fact that it's raining. So rather than be bummed out about it and be so upset that it's raining, go on about your day. Just accept it for what it is, and move on. And there's lots of things that we can control. There's lots of things we can't control, and it's no use. There's no point. It doesn't do you any good to worry or stress or get angry or be sad about some things that you can't control. It's another one of those things you have to acknowledge and move forward. And, it sounds simple to say. Sometimes it's not easy. We're not saying it's exactly the easiest thing in the world to wake up and be positive, especially in certain circumstances. But when you are intentional about it and you're trying to do it, it is kind of a snowball effect. And again, there's some things that you just can't control. So don't waste your time on those things. That's going to ruin that positive mindset that you're trying to create.
So as you were talking, I was thinking, we've talked continually about having a positive mindset. And we have these sometimes negative thoughts and emotions. And I don't know if this would be helpful or not, but I'm wondering if, like, we have these thoughts that are negative, or these bad things that happen to us, what can we do with them? Maybe what we could do is we could write them down. And as we're writing them down, it will take them out of our mental bank. I'm taking them out of my mind, writing them down. Okay, this was, I keep thinking about this thing, and this thing might happen. You write them down. And perhaps what that could do is that would be an opportunity for you to take them, like, if you can think about a filing cabinet, I take them out of the filing cabinet of my brain, and I put them into the shredder, and I shred that paper, right? So I took them out of my mind where I'm continually thinking about them. I put them down on the paper, and that act of putting them in onto paper, writing them down, perhaps, again, I don't know. I'm just kind of thinking if that would be enough to get them out of your mind onto paper, then you can take that paper, throw it, burn it, whatever. Or maybe as you're writing them down, that would give you an opportunity to say, okay, this is the thing I'm worried about. This is the other thing I'm worried about. Okay, if this happens, what can I do about it? Well, I can't do anything about it. Okay, great. Well, I cross that out. I can't worry about it. If this happens, what can I do? A, B, or C? Okay, great. Then okay, great. I'll choose one of those, or see how that plays out. Or, if you have these things like, okay, this bad thing happened to me, this bad thing happened to me, this bad thing happened to me. If I write them down and then think about, okay, this bad thing happened. Yes, that's unfortunate. I'm sorry that happened to you. And then you leave some spaces underneath there. Okay, this bad thing happened. Yes. But what positive things could happen out of that? And you write down, maybe it's one or two little points about it. And then this bad thing happened. Okay, great. What positive one or 2 points? And maybe that would help to, one, get it out of your mind so you're not dwelling on those things. But on top of that, because you're writing it down, maybe you would be able to start to see different areas, despite that negative thing, where some positive things could come out. I don't know. Again, this is all brand new. I'm just thinking about it just as you were talking.
I'm thinking about it even from a different angle. You write down those things that are worrying you, the things that are bringing you down, the things that are upsetting you. And I'm thinking you look at them and there's probably a handful of them that you look at and say, man, why am I worried about this? It's either something I can't control, or it's not a big deal, or it's not as terrible as I thought. And so I'm thinking of it as you write it out, look at it realistically. Oh man, it's raining. Why am I bummed out about this? I can't stop the rain. I woke up and whatever it is, maybe putting it on paper, you could burn it, throw it away, get rid of it. I like that you also said you can kind of anticipate, because sometimes having a plan is enough to help you kind of calm down a little bit and put you in a more positive mindset. So you write it down. Here's what I'm worried about. Well, what can I do about it? Boom. There's your plan of action to take that negative thing and put a spin on it. But like I said, as you're saying that, I'm thinking, I write it down, I look at it, physically look at it. Man, why am I upset about this? I either can't control it, or it's kind of silly to be worried about this thing, or whatever it is, and kind of reassure yourself in that way.
Yeah, and I think, and maybe this would be like the beginner's guide to overcoming these negative thinking patterns, the beginner's guide. So you start by taking those negative things, you write them down, not to dwell on them further, but to take them out of your mind, take them out of that filing cabinet onto paper so that you can write them down and then put them in the shredder. And my thinking of it being the beginner's guide is because at some point you perhaps would progress far enough along that you don't have to write it down anymore. You can mentally, okay, this might happen. Okay, great. I don't have to worry about that. You play that whole act. Now, I don't, again, brand new. I'm just thinking about it right now. And it could be a terrible idea, to be fair, but I think there's some merit to at least some parts of this. That act of writing it down may be crucial in order to actually get it out of your mind. And so my thought process for this stems from the morning pages that we've talked about previously in journaling, where you take all that clutter that's in your mind and you just write, and that act of getting it out clears your mind. And so if you take just the negative aspects and you write those down, maybe that would clear your mind from those negative things and be able to move you forward. And again, I think perhaps at some point you would do that enough, you'd build that practice so that you could do that mentally as opposed to physically. Again, although the act of writing it down may be crucial enough that you have to physically put pen and paper. But, certainly that would be a good starting point if you have those negative thinking patterns. If you've identified in yourself that, hey, that is me, I do those things. Well, try it, and let us, by all means, let us know if that's a hit or miss for you. I'm actually curious to know.
And you're talking about as well, another part of the question is overcoming the negative thinking patterns. And so when you're trying to cultivate this positive mindset and you may be writing these down for a week, 2 weeks, whatever it is. And if you keep them somewhere, you can go back and reference them. Maybe you look and see, man, this day I was worried about this. The next day I was worried about the same thing. The next day I was worried about the same thing. And maybe you notice that negative pattern. And so then you can start again to do something about it. And so you can say, hey, every single day for this whole week, I was worried about this thing. What can I do to make myself less worried about this thing, or to completely remove that thing from my life so I'm not so worried about it anymore, if that's what it takes. And so being able to develop or recognize negative thinking patterns first off, then you can do something about it because you know what the issue is, and you kind of work backward. Sometimes we know what is causing something, or sometimes we're just feeling the effect of what such something is causing to us. So you can kind of work through that as well. I think that would be a powerful tool that we're kind of working through now as well, to combat that pattern that just continues happening once you notice it.
Speaking of patterns, I would imagine most people are probably worried continually about the same kind of things. And so that thing, whatever that thing might be, will come up continually. And if you have a mode of thinking where you are coming up with solutions for that, or you think of opportunities for you to change or modify your way of thinking about that, then what that'll do is, instead of you being kind of behind when those things happen, oh man, this thing happened again, I'm so, whatever, you get out in front of it, you anticipate it happening, and then you have solutions to solve whatever that thing is if and when it does happen. So yeah, again, as we continue to kind of dissect this idea, I think that this would be very beneficial if you are the type person that have those continual negative thinking patterns, or you just want to try to look on the brighter side of things, or have an analytical way of thinking about the things that you think about on a daily basis. And maybe this is like, you have a thing on your phone and you just, speak into it, da, 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 and then you get home at the end of the day and you have like your quote unquote inbox full of those those thoughts that you had through your day. And then you, at the end of the day, or maybe at the end of the week, depending, you take 5 or 10, 15 minutes to jot them down and then move on to the next day, where they're out. Now they're out of your mind. Great. Move on. Now you're on the next thing. I think that having these opportunities for you to think on the more positive side, overcoming those, negative thinking patterns. I think that, the next stage to that is the feelings of fear and self-doubt. And fear and self-doubt is something that everybody experiences, and it could be the fear of failure. It could be the fear of success. And self-doubt, that goes right along with it, because of course, continually we assume or think that we can't do what everybody else is doing. Like, oh man, look at Sally. She's so good at this. I wish I could. But you could do that if you took the time or energy or effort, or even just tried to do those things. I think that having fear and self-doubt is a constant thing that pretty well everybody goes through, no matter what you think or where they are in their life. Everybody has fear and self-doubt. I think that is something that we continually have to strive to overcome. And again, it could be fear of failure, or fear of success, or fear of what does people think about me, the emotional aspect of those, the social, all of those things. And then of course self-doubt is such a tough thing, because again, we are our own worst critic. We are going to be down on ourselves more than anybody else. And with that, should give you the opportunity to rise above and continue to push yourself. Although, if it's enough, it's going to crush your modality of thinking, and you just stay put because you don't feel that you can do more than what you're doing.
I think personally a good tool for overcoming those feelings of fear, overcoming that self-doubt, is something that we talk about all the time, which is having your values, understanding your whys. Because if you're pursuing something and doing something that's going to be in line with your values, I think that, or at least personally, remembering why I'm doing something, remembering what this thing is going to end up being toward or working toward or being a part of is a huge motivator to overcome that fear and self-doubt. And that's not to say I don't feel those feelings of fear or feel that self-doubt, because we all do. And I don't have to explain to anybody what that is because it's part of the daily life. But having that end goal, or having that reason, that why, that value that you're trying to reinforce with whatever you're doing, is a huge motivator for me personally, to be able to say, hey, listen, I'm scared of doing this thing. However, I'm doing this thing so that this other thing can happen, or I'm doing this thing for this reason. And that's a huge motivating force, something that really is helpful in overcoming those fears and overcoming that self-doubt. And it's still there, it's still present all the time. That doesn't make it go away, but it's that a tool I can use to overcome that, to push past that, to achieve the things. And sometimes the thing happens and I feel really great about it. Sometimes the thing happens and I'm still scared. I'm still doubtful about what happened. But the important thing is I did the thing. The thing is over with. I was able to push through and get it done. And at that point, it becomes something that I can't control anymore. Once it's over, okay, it's over. There's no point in me being scared. There's no point in me doubting myself anymore, because it's done. Can't do anything about it now. So, all right, move on to the next thing, which ties back into that positive mindset and kind of crushing those negative thinking patterns as well.
Right. So using those things as a motivating factor for you to continually to push and do more is such a cool way to shift your way of thinking about those things. Because, right, if you have those fears of whatever it might be, and they're the fear of what might be, not what actually did happen or is happening, but what could happen. If you use your values, your whys, to push yourself to do those things despite what might happen, what you'll find, and I think more often than not, what you think was going to happen didn't happen. And on top of that, what you think was going to happen, not only did it not happen, but it came out 50 to 75% better than the way that you thought it was going to happen. And I think with that, it is important to understand that our mind is going to play out the worst case scenario of whatever it is. And with that, your fear of whatever it could be, and the fear of the could be or would be, or the potential fear, understand that fear, while not unfounded, it's founded on something historical or whatever, or you see somebody else do it. I think that relates to that self-doubt. So if you can grow your comfort zone and do those things despite the fear, then again, what you'll find is it's going to come out. And the thing that you feared was going to happen didn't happen. And not only did it not happen, but it ended up, wildly better than what you anticipated it happening. I know that we have done things together and thought I know that we have done things together and had a mental idea of what was going to happen. Oh man, this is going to be tough because of, whatever the thing is. And almost every time, if not every time on the other end, it was wildly better than what we anticipated happening. Like 99.9% of the time is it much better than what we thought. And on the occasions that it is what we thought, it wasn't like we didn't know that could happen. Not only did we know that it could happen, it did happen. And in the thinking about that, okay, well, we thought this was going to happen, and guess what? It did happen. Okay, fine, we moved on. But again, more often than not, again, like 99% of the time, oh man, this is going to be tough because of, whatever. Nope, it was great, wonderful, way better than what we thought it to be. And sometimes the inverse of that is true. Sometimes we anticipate something being awesome, wonderful, amazing, and then we get there and do the thing or whatever, and it's way worse than what we thought it was going to be. So I think that goes with fear and self-doubt, because you have the fear of doing something because of your doubt, your ability in doing whatever the thing is. But if you can overcome that or use that as motivation to continue and do it despite whatever challenges or fears you have, you will start to grow your comfort zone. And then you can take those things and use that as experience to say, yeah, you know what? Not only can I do that, I did it already. I did it, so I can do it again. That's okay, no problem.
And let's take it back to the paper. you're afraid of doing something, you have doubts about doing something, maybe make a short list. So you have best case scenario. Here's what happens. Everything's awesome. Then you have worst case scenario. If everything went wrong, here's what it would look like. Then you have kind of middle of the road standard. If this happens, I'll be okay with it. Not super happy about it, but not upset about it. Then you're prepared for at least 3 different outcomes. If it goes great, awesome. You thought maybe it could go like this. If it goes bad, okay, I was prepared for it to maybe go this way. Or if it's in the middle, you say, yeah, that was kind of what I expected. And again, that kind of helps you, I would think, to at least be prepared for different outcomes and be prepared for what might happen, and that might put you in a better mindset rather than kind of just spiraling, thinking, oh, what if this, what if this, what if this, what if this. Well, let's take some time, write it down, think about it. Here's at least 3 options, and you can go even beyond that. You have worst case scenario and you have beyond worst case scenario, something that you can't even imagine is going to happen and completely throw things out of or blow things out of the water. Or you have super best case scenario. So here's best case scenario, and this totally exceeded what I thought best case scenario could be. And there's even more things you can but not that it's going to go that way just because you planned it out, but at least you have an idea, or you can accept and literally look at, well, here's the ways it could go. So if it goes any one of these ways, I won't be surprised because I walked into it knowing that it could be one of these different ways. And so that might be a good tool to help reassure you, or maybe not put those fears and that self-doubt away completely, but then, like you were just saying, Mr. Bean, we kind of walk into it thinking, well, we thought maybe it could be like this, and we thought maybe it could be like this. It's less powerful or less staggering when you kind of do end up inevitably running into a worst case scenario, or if it's just standard run of the mill or whatever. And it could also be best case scenario, but again, maybe that'll help put some fears at bay by kind of planning it out and saying, here's what could happen, so I'm prepared for many different outcomes, and whatever outcome happens. It's not like I didn't kind of foresee this coming up.
To link this back to something that we got from Stephen Box, where he talked about there's 3, if you have something like this happen, you have 3 categories. You have what influence did you have, what was out of your influence, and what was, oh man, I'm forgetting the other one. There was 3 categories. What was it, like what you did, what you could have done better, and what was completely out of your control. I think those were the 3. What did you, like, this would be as if something happened and it happened poorly, or whatever the negative thing that perhaps happened to you through the day. Okay, what did you do that contributed to that? What could you have done differently to improve that? And what was totally out of your control? And what was totally out of your control, those things you have, like, they are totally out of your control. You have no influence over those things. So that would be the category that you don't have to worry about or do anything with at all. What did you do that contributed to that? Okay, those are things you could do. And then think about what you could do differently so that that outcome doesn't happen again in the future. Those 3 kind of categories, I think, are powerful with this, with all of the things that we've talked about today in mind. The positive mindset, overcoming the negative thinking patterns, the feelings of fear and self-doubt, and all of this in an effort to continue to pursue your dreams and your goals in whatever aspect of your life that you want. If you have a goal of whatever your goal is, if you have a goal and you have a fear of doing the first step in order to achieve that goal, then you're not, unless you overcome that fear, you're not going to be able to achieve that goal. If you have a goal and you are continually thinking about all the negative things, you have a negative thinking patterns about whatever it is, and maybe they're associated with that goal, maybe they're not, maybe they're devoid from those. But if you have those negative thinking patterns, it's going to be hard for you to stay positive and achieve that goal. If you have a goal, but you have self-doubt, like man, this is the thing I wrote down because that guy said I was supposed to, but I don't really think I can do that. If you have that type of mentality, then guess what? There's no way you're going to be able to do the work in order to achieve that goal because you don't think you can do it. And unfortunately, if you don't think you can do something, then you can't do it. So you have to change that. You have to mold yourself into somebody that is willing to try new things despite the fear. You have to change yourself into somebody who overcomes that self-doubt that you have, the doubt that you don't think you can do X, Y, Z, A, B, C, whatever it is, and grow your comfort zone in order to try those things. Listen, if other humans have and are achieving those things, you're human. What separates you from them? Everybody has the same 24 hours in the day. We just choose to do different things with them. What could you do through your day, week, month, year that would put you back on a path or on a path to achieve the thing that you want? Yes, it's going to be scary. Courage, I wish I could associate this to who said this. I'm sure it was I think it was a general or somebody, but they said that courage isn't the lack of fear. It's not courage is not the lack of fear. Courage is doing the thing that needs to get done despite the fear. So it's going to be scary to do whatever it is, but you have to have courage to do it, even though it's scary to do, right? What if your dreams, if your goals are scary, that's good, because that means they're pushing you to be more than what you are now. And if you have the courage to do the things, to put the work in every day in order to achieve those things, then that means you have to have the courage. You have to be able to do the things despite the fear. Even though they're scary, even though you might fail, do them anyways so that you can grow and learn and be more than what you are, right? And those failures, those mistakes that you're going to make, those failures that are going to happen to you, they're all part of the learning process. You can take them and learn and grow and be more from them, or you can accept those as facts, as who you are. You see, Zig Ziglar says failure is an event, not a person, which means that you are not a failure. You're a person who failed. But if you can fail forward, to yet again quote Zig Ziglar, if you can fail forward, you can continue moving up the stairs as opposed to falling down the stairs. So even though you're going to fail, even though those tough things are going to happen to you, be able to look on the positive side for those. Be able to see the positivity that happens and what doors, one door closed, but another 3 opened. But if you can't see those 3 because you're not looking for them, you're staring at that door that closed and you just stay there and wait for it to open again. The 3 doors that are, the 3 doors on video, I just have my hand up. I didn't have 3 fingers up. The 3 doors that are next to you are open. But if you stood in front of that door that stayed closed, you can't see the other 3 that open right next to it. So step back, reassess what happened, what was my influence on this, what could I have done differently, and what was outside of my control. Figure those things out and then see what other doors opened for you.
Yes, sir. Those are some great tools and steps we can take toward empowering ourselves, helping us to pursue our dreams and achieve our goals in daily life.
Yes, sir. So, again, as you are continuing through your journey, be mindful of the mindsets that you have. Stay positive. Stay positive. Look for the positive things that can come out of whatever life throws your way.